right, hi everybody. Welcome to the June Open Space Committee. My name is Adam Young and I'm going to be guiding us today, back from my month off and ready to pick up where we left off. Let's see, I'll start with the governor's order, which hopefully we won't be reading that many more times. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, the June 9th, 2021 public meeting of the Lakeville Open Space Committee shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. However, to view this meeting in progress, please go to facebook.com/LakeCAM. This meeting will be recorded and available to be viewed at a later date at lakecam.tv. I'll begin today with a roll call of Open Space Committee members in attendance. I'll say your name and you'll say here or something to that effect. I'll start with Adam Young is here, Mike Schroeder.
Here.
Jesse Medford. Here. Brian Reynolds.
Here.
And looks like no one else is currently here, although thanks to Sean from LakeCAM for dealing with us on this kind of off day, not our typical day for having this. I'll identify any non-committee members in attendance. Unfortunately, there are none. Hopefully that changes when we go back in person. And I'll begin by reading the meeting minutes from May. This is thankfully short meeting minutes. So I'll try to share my screen so you're not staring at me while we do this. I'd like to ask Sean to allow screen sharing if that's possible.
Yep, I'm allowing it right now. You should be able to.
Excellent, thanks. All right. Okay, zoom in a little and move some of these windows out of the way. On May 5th, the Open Space Committee held a meeting at 7 o'clock remotely from various locations. The meeting was called to order at 7:02 by Acting Chairman Liz Nash. Open Space Committee members present were Fred Ferdima, Mike Schroeder, Brian Reynolds, Liz Nash, and Donna Wabrick. Absent were Jesse Medford, Donna Wabrick, and Adam Young. I'll strike Donna from the first part of that. If I can remember the hotkey, there we are. LakeCAM was recording the meeting for broadcast. Then we have the governor's order interjected here. I won't read that again. Acting Chairman Nash begins with a roll call vote of the members and then read an introduction regarding the need for remote meetings and how a remote meeting will be conducted. She noted that there are no non-committee members in attendance. There was a review of the April meeting minutes and edits discussed. There were then an approval of the minutes as amended. It was a all in favor vote. Old business, starting with updates regarding the former hospital site, the Development Opportunities District bylaw. Acting Chairman Nash asked if there's anything new to report on this topic. Brian Reynolds spoke about how some of the members of the Lakeville Historical Commission did a walkthrough of the grounds of the old Lakeville Hospital. He explained that some of the artwork on one of the buildings, believed to be the children's ward, they would like to have saved. There was discussion with Rhino Capital and they have agreed to try and save that section. However, there are no guarantees as it's an outside masonry wall and then it would have to be transported. The art depicts nursery rhymes and it is hoped it can be used and displayed in Lakeville Library Children's area. Acting Chairman Nash spoke briefly about the upcoming vote at the town meeting regarding the Development Opportunity District bylaw. The committee briefly discussed the Lakeville Country Club golf course after that. Member Ferdima will reach out to the owner to see about getting a status on the property. Open Space Plan updates, review of April progress. Mike Schroeder outlined a few small outstanding items that she's been working on. There's a reference to the night sky section and how that has not been updated at all. And it is noted that the scenic vistas needs to be completely redone as the landscape and vegetation has changed. Acting Chairman Nash spoke about the Serpent hours that are available to the town that could be used to assist with the Open Space Plan updates. Acting Chairman Nash noted that the town currently has 40 hours that can be utilized after July 1st, 2021, and she will reach out to the Board of Selectmen and or the Planning Board to see about having some hours allocated to updating the Open Space and Recreation Plan. Mike Schroeder referenced an email received regarding Serpent hours for this year that need to be utilized prior to June 30th. Acting Chairman Nash will forward that email to Chairman Young so that he can facilitate getting the use of this year's hours if they are not going to be utilized for something else. Brian Reynolds notes that he will follow up with Joan Morton and get a status on the sections that she is working on. Next, plans for May progress of the open space plan. Acting Chairman Nash confirms that she will be working with Chairman Young to get permission to utilize the Serpent hours for the current year as well as next. A work meeting will be set up so that the committee can brainstorm as to what the Serpent hours will be used for. Mike Schroeder will send out one document that has the sections she updated without the other sections that have not been updated to make the document more manageable and easier to read. Brian Reynolds will speak with Joe Morton regarding the historical and geology sections. New business. The committee briefly discussed the Development Opportunities District bylaw article that will be discussed at the upcoming town meeting. There's a brief discussion on the potential amendment to the motion that may further define that law, the DOD area, rather than completely removing this bylaw. Committee liaisons, the future CPC. Mike Schroeder spoke briefly about getting a Community Preservation Act onto the fall town meeting. There is a mailing that will be going out explaining the CPA, and the chairman of the current Community Preservation Committee in Middleborough will be coming to speak with the group. Historical Commission. Brian Reynolds explained that he asked the members of the Historical Commission if anyone wanted to be representative of the Community Preservation Act Committee, and there was no interest at this time. He noted that the Memorial Day events will be at the park across from the old town hall on Monday, May 31st at 10 a.m. Assawamsett Pond Complex. Mike Schroeder has nothing new to update the committee on for that topic. The meeting then concluded, as it was noted, the next meeting would be Wednesday, June 2nd. I'll note, aside from the notes today, for posterity is June 9th. Then the motion was made by member Brian Reynolds to adjourn and seconded by Mike Schroeder. It was unanimous. Thanks very much, Colleen, for your great minutes once again. I'll ask if anyone has any comments on any edits they'd like to see to these minutes.
There was a misspelling, I think, of Fred's name in someplace in there. Yeah, that one, yeah.
All right. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Anything else? Anything that needs to be adjusted for accuracy, or shall we move to accept these minutes?
I move we accept these minutes as with a slight amendment.
And
okay,
Brian,
I'll second it.
Great. And we'll go with a roll call vote. We've heard from Mike and Brian. Now, Jesse?
I wasn't there, so I have to abstain.
Oh, that's true. That may be problematic. I think we need a quorum to accept. So in that case, at least we will have updated everyone here on what happened last month, and we'll have to do this again next time. I'll send the minutes out to Liz and Donna and Fred so that they can read it beforehand, and we won't read it again next time. We'll just vote.
You can vote on the minutes without a quorum. You just have to have a quorum present in the meeting, if I understood that right. I could be wrong, but I thought you could vote for the minutes with last. It might be worth just doing the vote with the rest of you, and if they reject it, they reject it.
Yeah, you may be right, and I would defer to your experience, but I guess in the absence of certainty, I guess we'll just wait for next time. And with that, we'll put that aside and move to the agenda for today. I've updated it a bit since, excuse me, sharing my work documents. Probably not what I wanted to do.
We'll leave that to you, please.
And let's see. I'll pick up where we left off. We'll start with the old business. So updates regarding the priority properties, the Lakeville Hospital. Is there anything that we wanted to discuss or update anyone about that property?
I don't think we have any information at this point to know just what the status is, as whether there's anything holding it up or not.
Okay.
As far as I know, everything is going as planned, as proposed.
Right. In that case, we can move to the next item. And we do have a lot of items here, so if you want me to slow down, please just interject. The Lakeville Country Club. This is an item we may want to discuss. It was discussed at the last committee meeting in relation to the DoD bylaw, which at the time was in advance of the upcoming town meeting. Is there anything we want to discuss about either of those topics?
Well, actually, the bylaw doesn't make any difference as for that property because it's already zoned industrial.
Okay.
And I don't think we have anything new. We'd hoped that maybe Fred might have something pop up. It was scheduled to be on a selectmen's meeting, but I don't know if it ever did come up. It was removed from their agenda. The meeting that I listened to, and I've missed some meetings, so I don't really know. I don't know if there's been further discussion.
Okay. So that was a topic that Fred was going to be kind of the point person on.
He said that he had contact with the owner.
Okay.
Informal contact. He played golf with him.
Right, and I recall him saying that it sounded like, or that there was a purchase and sales agreement, but it has in some way not progressed past that state, or something has changed.
Well, there was an issue with the purchase and sales agreement included some residential property that would not have been part of it may have been part of the purchase, but it was not part of the land that was zoned industrial that would be developed with a warehouse. Mm-hmm. So it was considered an invalid quote.
Right, and if that's the case, I know this runs into one of the problems we experience often of not having any kind of standing budget for preservation. But if there was to be any appetite for some kind of purchase or protection of that land, now that there is not an agreement in place, do we have the right to kind of have a preliminary negotiation or open conversations to that end?
I would think so. I mean, we could always have a conversation, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It doesn't. But that's something that has to be kind of felt out because we don't know for sure that purchase and sales agreement has been invalidated. I mean, that's just it's a guess.
Okay, so in that case, I suppose we should be waiting to hear from Fred, and perhaps he can clarify some of those issues for us, because there is any possibility of just opening communication and just exploring possibilities, however remote it seems worth doing. And I'll note that Donna Wabrick has joined us. Hi, Donna.
Hi. Sorry.
No, not a problem. Good to have you here. Moving to the next topic, Rocky Woods, the area off of 140 that was mentioned at the last meeting. I believe this was the context in which the DoD bylaw came up. Now, as I understand it, the vote did not occur at the most recent town meeting, which I was unable to attend for various reasons. Does that mean that as of now, there are no plans to change that bylaw, as far as you know? Oh, you muted yourself.
Oh. I attended that meeting, and my understanding, and I hope this is correct, that it was kind of, I forget the terminology they used, but it was removed from consideration. And the idea was that the Board of Selectmen and the bylaws subcommittee and would work on, and also the group that proposed this article at town meeting, that they would work out revisions to the bylaw that would allow it to stay in place, but would be modified in a way that would be more acceptable.
Right. I'm wondering if there are any kind of revisions that we could be advocating for that would in some way be more in line with what we would hope would happen, rather than have it be completely done out of our hands and out of our
Well, my thought would be that but it currently is left up to the planning board just for their judgment. If there was any way to add a little bit more teeth to the idea that it be that they seriously consider the value of leaving this land developed either residentially or left as open space, particularly if it was land that had some value as open space. But I don't know if that's ever going to be the issue. It's going to be whether it gets developed one way or the other.
Okay. With that, we can discuss the deed restriction renewal calendar. This is something that I had intended to make progress on, but was unable to. This is something I need to discuss with the assessor's office, I believe, because this is something that, just for context, Fred brought to my my awareness that apparently is part of the committee charter to create or to in some way, keep this renewal calendar in order over time. And I don't think it even exists right now. And just ideally, it would be great to say Chapter 61 properties, this protection expires every 10 years. If we know 6 months in advance of when one of these expirations is, we might be able to advocate for someone keeping it as a Chapter 61 property, rather than if their first conversation about it is someone trying to purchase that land for a different use. But unfortunately, there has been no progress on that recently. Hopefully that will change in the coming weeks and months. Brian last month mentioned he has access to a list of historical locations or potential historical locations, and he suggested that we cross-check that list with other lists that we have access to, such as priority properties, non-conforming properties, and other properties of interest. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about that list of historical locations, Brian?
Okay, to clarify, I believe the Massachusetts Historical Commission has, I think it's a computerized printout that will tell us which houses in Lakeville or buildings are over 50 years old. And then I was thinking that we compare that to the list that you have and see if there's any overlapping areas concerning the houses that are on undersized lots, is it?
Right, that's the non-conforming list, yeah.
Yeah, non-conforming list. And no, I haven't contacted the Mass Historical Commission yet, but I'll do it this week.
Okay. You said
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, if we could back up for just half a second. The assessor's office has given me a list of all the chapter properties. 60, is it 60? I always forget mixed with 60 or not. It's 60, 61, 61A, 61B, and just 61. And I would assume that they also have, that they did not include the data of when they expired, but I would assume that they have that data. And it may be simply a matter of like just printing out another sheet and sending it to me.
Who did you say would have that?
The assessor's office.
Right.
I do have contact. There's a woman who specializes in that, just that. And I don't know if she's in Lakeville or someplace else, but it's her specialty. And I could reach out to her.
Yeah, that would be great. I did reach out to the assessor's office, and they referenced me to someone else, I guess a third party who is in some way associated with that data, saying that they had reached out to me, and they haven't. But that fell through the cracks. So if you wanted to reach out, that'd be really useful.
So it's the date that their enrollment expires.
Right.
For each one, okay.
Well, just for the 61, because the 61A and B will be expiring every year, and I believe.
Oh, okay. So they have to be renewed every year. Okay, so it's just the 61. 61 is what? Do you remember? Because I get them mixed up. There's recreation, forestry, and agriculture.
Right. I believe that was the original one, but I don't recall which one that was.
Okay.
Now I want to know. Let's see.
I can look that up so I don't sound too stupid.
Let's see if I can look it up first. 61 is forestry, 61A is agriculture, 61B is open space and recreation.
So 61 is forestry.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Where was I? I'll pause here and see if anyone had anything they wanted to add, but I know I've kind of been going quickly. All right. In that case, we'll talk about the open space plan updates. Just a quick, nice little note. I was able to, a couple months ago, actually, time kind of flies. I sent a message to Mohammed OJ, I believe is his name. He's always posting great photography of nature on the Helping Lakeville page. I asked if he'd be interested at all in providing some of his photography for use in the plan to give it a little more life and color. And he was really open to that. And so I think that'll be just a really nice way of editing it for aesthetic purposes and hopefully make it a bit more appealing to read. As you know, it'll sit for the next decade in the library. So hopefully a few more people pick it up if it looks nice. And it's nice to think that a local person would contribute that. Now on to the content. I'll ask if Brian has anything to add from the Historical Commission side.
Well, I did talk to Joan Morton about the open space sections for historical and geology, and she said that she was either 2/3 or 3/4 done. And at our next meeting, I will ask again and see if we're pretty close.
Ryan, did she mention anything about, because she was also going to do the health, she was going to be the point person for the Board of Health.
No, she didn't mention that, and I didn't mention that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
I will ask her at the next meeting, though.
Great. And when is that?
I will ask Joan Morton when we have our next meeting, which will be about another week from now.
Okay, great. Let's see. Fred is not here. Liz is not here. Mike, do you have any updates? I remember you asked if anyone in the group would be reading and checking your work. Has that happened to your knowledge?
Yes, Fred read through the whole thing, had put his comments on, and then we met twice. We didn't quite get all the way through it, but we did meet twice and went through a lot of things. There's still some unresolved things. There's still, I had questions for Nate when he has not been responding. I haven't tried again in a couple of weeks, I have to confess. But there's still some information that I don't have, but we've done quite a lot of it. It is, I wish some other people would take a look at it, because I'm kind of in favor of even before we do much more, putting what we have done out there as a draft and saying, please read some section of it, give us some comments, got some corrections or updates, like, and then give a place where they can respond. So, I mean, even if people just read little bits of it, it would be, it would be a wake up for the town anyway.
Right. Not to call you out or anything, Donna, but I do recall a couple months ago I asked how you'd like to get involved with the plan, and I remember you saying that you were really a talented proofreader. So is it possible that we could share that with you and get your feedback on the draft as it stands today?
Yeah, and I remember you sent out an email. I wasn't sure if that was the most updated one, so I haven't. But I know Mike sent some pages as well. So do you have like the most? I'm not really like keen on Google and stuff like that. I'm kind of technologically challenged. So, but yeah, if you want to send it to me again, I can take a look.
So, Mike, would you be able to share the draft with Donna if you haven't already, and that way we can get.
Yes. Well, what I would share with her is the the state that it's in right now. I mean, Fred and I plan to meet again, but one thing or another, he went away, heard his, I don't know, just a whole bunch of things happened, and we haven't had a chance to sit again.
Yeah.
But I can kind of mark how far we had gone, and you could see the corrections that we've made, and I could send you some notes with it so you would know what our symbolism is.
Okay, is it in Word like with lines, like correction lines, or is it like a?
Well, it's in a Word document, and
Okay.
essentially everything new is in red, and
Right.
everything that is in question that we still need to work on is in green.
Okay, I'm familiar with that. All right.
Excellent. Thanks, Donna.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jesse, I know you've been incredibly preoccupied, but just want to check in if you've had any thoughts about the plan lately.
No, I need to get on board with the parks section of it. I haven't
Yes.
had communication with them lately, but yeah, I need to start getting on with that. So.
Actually, Jesse, we just ad-libbed for the park section.
Oh yeah.
So you can review it, but we decided, well, maybe we're never going to hear, so we ad-libbed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. See what I can interject in that.
Great. So I have made some progress on the survey. The survey is really close to actually getting people to respond to it, as a matter of fact. What has happened? It's been, I did this a couple months ago in anticipation. A leaflet has been created. I believe there were 6,000 of them or so that advertise for the survey. This leaflet has been or will be inserted into the tax documents that go out either at the end of this month or early July. So you'll all be getting one in the mail.
Fantastic.
In your tax documents, it'll say, go to this surveymonkey.com account. And when you're there, you can take the survey right there. So we'll hopefully get a lot of people to respond. This has been generously covered. The Board of Selectmen have approved the funds for the SurveyMonkey account and the leaflets themselves. And there will be a $100 gift card that will be raffled off. I realized the kind of conflict that would be present by getting the town to pay for that. So instead, I've just put my own money out there. I just want to make sure this happens. So please get people to answer the survey. So that'll go out. You'll get that soon. And then once we have it, and I'm going to wait a couple months for all of the data to come in. It's going to take people some time. I also have to arrange for hard copies to be at a few different locations in town, such as the library and the senior center and a couple others that escape my memory. After a couple of months of the data coming in, the hard copies and the online responses, then we'll analyze the data, put it together, and I can probably pretty quickly write up the survey results section. As I look at it, that should probably be the last section that gets done. That would be nice. And then we can move on to doing some final drafts and submission. I think we'll all be really happy when that happens.
Okay, I would say that when especially going over it with Fred, the background stuff that we've been doing, a lot of action items kept presenting themselves just from the data that we were, the issues that we were talking about. So I'm hoping that before we actually move to that part, that people will find time to read the updates that we have done.
Sure. Once this baby of mine starts sleeping, I can volunteer some of my own hours.
You're not going to read them as bedtime stories.
Maybe that might be baby to sleep.
So that's the final thing about the open space plan is what I consider a nice win is Serpent hours being dedicated for the open space plan to be used. However, I was really hoping Liz would be here because I wanted to ask her about this. As I understand it, there are Serpent hours before and after June 30th. And she said that there are 20 hours available to us, but I need to be sure, and I should probably find out this from her today or tomorrow in the interest of time, whether the hours that she told me about are in fact before June 30th, because there's not that many 20-hour spans of time between now and then, so we'll need to do that immediately. Now,
we know that Lakeville that Serpent has a maps that we would be using that were already created for the master plan, and they're pretty up to date. So just using those maps, I don't understand what hours are going to, what's appropriate use of their hours. Do those maps take up any of their hours because they already exist? I just don't know.
Well, hopefully they have, some dedicated environmentalists and writers who want to make this open space plan just as good as we want it to, and they have some pointers on what it needs to be boosted in, and if their hours are spent reviewing and writing and giving us some tips on where to focus, that would be certainly better than nothing, especially with 3 weeks to get that done. So I will make it an action item on myself to follow up with Liz and make sure that those hours get used as soon as possible.
Okay, to promote, to mention the CPA survey, not CPA, the open space survey that's coming out on whatever Facebook pages. I know Jesse's all over Facebook, so that we could ask him to please mention them.
Yes, please, as many people as we can get to take the survey, the better. I see no reason why we wouldn't want to do that.
Can you just put the link on like LHL page? Would they allow that, or?
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that pretty frequently, I would imagine.
There's also Residents Along Pond page that I belong to. Could post it on that as well. Okay.
I would imagine that there's Freetown residents in that group, right?
Oh yeah, anybody that lives on the pond is for that group.
Okay.
So you might have a mix, right?
One of the questions initially is, are you a current resident in Lakeville? And we'll hope that people are being honest.
Honest, yeah. Maybe just LHL then. I mean, in LHL, like there are some people that aren't residents.
There's a lot of people that are former residents using that, so it still tend to might want to answer it. Sure. If they're honest that they are or aren't still a resident.
Okay, well, I'll keep thinking about that and ways to get the survey out in as valid a way as possible. So I believe that's it for the open space plan updates for now. I'll pause and see if anyone can remember anything I've forgotten. All right, new business. I didn't include this on the agenda, which I kind of revised earlier today, but I was not aware until this week that on Monday, June 21st at 6:30 p.m. At the Apponequet Regional High School, there will be a special town meeting where the only article on hand is legislation to establish the Freetown Lakeville Lake District, whose purpose is to use sustainable and appropriate environmental practices to encourage biodiversity in the plant and animal communities that use the lakes in the district, while controlling nuisance or damaging species in Long Pond, take appropriate action to protect and maintain integrity of the water quality of the pond so as to protect public and private water supplies, or to take other related actions. And I started reading the actual warrant, but I'll pause there. I'd like to get people's thoughts on this upcoming town meeting and what this legislation means for open spaces.
Well, I mean,
is it going to cover? Go ahead.
Sorry, Donna, then Brian, go ahead.
I mean, I know they've had issues with invasive, like milfoil in the ponds. So is this just like creating a committee so that, they can delegate controlling it. I feel like they've wanted to do that for a long time.
As I understand it, and I am not even remotely a high quality representative of this topic, but as I understand it, as I read, is that there is a fee to be collected from town residents abutting or having deeded access to Long Pond on an annual basis, and those fees will essentially fund the removal of invasive species and to do other actions to protect the water supply and the environmental biodiversity and so forth. So that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, because I think so far over the years they've only had volunteers doing it. So I think they're and maybe they're trying to control the boat ramp too. Because there's lots of complaints about that recently too.
Right.
So.
Brian, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I didn't know if they were going to anything concerning the historical resources that might be in the area, like archaeological digs or something. I think some have been done pretty close to the shore. And, those resources should be protected.
Right. There's nothing in the article text itself that mentions historical resources.
Okay.
Mike, Jesse, did you have any thoughts, or shall we move on?
They've kind of covered their bases when they say that it's to remove the invasive species and encourage biological diversity. I've got a feeling they're going to emphasize the former and not pay much attention to the latter. But it's in the text in any case.
Right. All right. Nothing.
My feelings on it is, it's definitely to help open space, and it'll, however many people show up on the 21st to vote. If they get 100 people, they're going to be the ones to decide for their town. So really just want to encourage everybody who can possibly be there on the 21st to, get out there and vote. You don't want just 100 people making this decision for everybody.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I do believe it's one of the principles of the open space committee is that it's clearly not good for the scenery or the environment of Lakeville to have invasive species everywhere. So if this legislation is directly getting rid of invasive species, we're really all winning. Who wants to have Japanese knotweed everywhere?
But it's not Japanese knotweed they're going after. It's the stuff in the water.
Oh, is it?
They're not going to bother with the Japanese knotweed. They're just going after the stuff that you swim in and the stuff that gets caught in your paddle and your propellers.
Okay. Well, that does. I'm kind of curious, Donna. You live in that area, do you not?
Well, we own a cottage on Long Pond.
Do you have any thoughts about your friends and neighbors on what they've been grumbling about? If this is something that would probably appeal to them or not appeal to them?
Yeah, it definitely it affects the fishing as well. I think the weeds in the water kill the fish. So but the biggest gripe right now is the jet skiers.
The what?
The jet skiers.
Oh, that's different.
So I haven't heard too much about the weeds, even though they are invasive. I see them right off my dock. So, but I guess if you drag them with your propeller, that's how they spread. So if it gets caught on your boat and you go 20 feet, it'll plant itself again. So it's like, I think it's a really delicate procedure to remove them without causing, infestation. Kind of like the Japanese knotweed. My husband and I had Japanese knotweed in our yard. We eradicated those after took 15 years, but we finally did it.
boy.
Those are horrible.
Yeah, I'm on year 2 of 15, so
Oh.
Just to throw something out, I would be talking about this a little bit later, but with the Nemasket Steering Committee. But the Herring Commission has had plans, to get weeds, to clear some of the weeds mechanically out of the Nemasket River with a mechanical puller. But they know it's only a temporary type thing, and you have to be very careful not to just end up sending a whole lot of seedlings downstream. So there's a certain time of year when they do it. They've been trying to do it for ages, and they have a plan now to do it again in August. On the lake, they have tried some chemicals, and the Conservation Commission is supposed to keep track of that. I hope that they still do. That was the Parkhurst community that did that, Donna. You know where the Parkhurst area would be. I would assume. Yeah,
I've heard of it. But the fact is, they're also trying to close down the public boat ramp, because when you're putting your boat in, they don't know who's dragging what on their propellers. So that's another issue. So it's not only residents, it's the people that are using the public boat ramp that have been somewhere else that are bringing these feeds into the water.
Well, maybe they'll end up using funds to provide monitoring at the boat ramps.
Right. Yeah, but it's definitely overdue, I would say.
All right. Well, if you are watching and you want to help protect from the spread of weeds in Long Pond, I'll encourage you to go on Monday, June 21st at 6:30 to Apponequet High School and vote in favor of the formation of the Freetown Lakeville Lake District. If that is then that's an option available to you. And not sure to what extent I can pose my own personal opinion, but you can probably figure it out. Next, the upcoming committee opening. Unfortunately, I've learned that we will be one man down, and that man is Jesse Medford, who will be stepping down from our committee in the near future, which is unfortunate, and I'm sure no one likes to hear it, but I'm sure it's only for the best. Anything you want to speak to that, Jesse?
Well, I feel like this is just temporary. I'll be around in some form or another, but just can't give a commitment this next year. So, openings always pop up, so I'm sure I'll find my way back.
Yep. Well,
Jesse, we thank you for your years.
Thank you for your service, indeed.
It's been great. I've really loved my experience with the Open Space Committee. So.
We'll be ready and waiting to have you back. And if anybody here knows anyone who would like to apply to the upcoming opening for the committee, please let them know that that's encouraged, because the more interest we have, the better. So spread the word. I'll move to committee liaisons. So Historical Commission with Brian.
Well, we have a meeting this next Wednesday night, and I will be speaking to Joan Morton about the update of the plans, and we're just sort of, we're still working on the updating the inventory of historic sites, and we've got to work on the inventory of archaeological and historical planning, and it's all being discussed at the Historical Commission meetings. And so, I'll report back on the progress of what's going on.
Great. How about Mike with the APC?
Okay, the APC meeting, actually, the quarterly meeting was this morning. Nancy Yates gave a presentation about just the status of the land around that is part of the Assawamsett Pond complex. And they've been having trouble with horses because horses have been walking on the beaches. They have had they're having trouble with people putting boats into Assawamsett Pond that are not supposed to be there. So there've been a lot of violations that she's been dealing with. She's very concerned about her budget because pretty soon the minimum wage is going to go up again, and she already is unable with her budget to get very many hours of people who, does she call them wardens? I forget, but people that she hires to monitor. And she has actually very little coverage. For some reason, she has never wanted to use volunteers, and knowing how hard it is to get people to volunteer, maybe I understand, but she's kind of desperate for money right now.
Mike, I thought they were going to fence the border around the water.
They fence it?
I thought they were going to put like a little fence.
No, they can't fence the entire thing.
Oh, okay.
It's huge.
Are those condos going for like 400?
Where the condos are that's not the issue. Where those that may be fenced, but the issue is the entire complex.
Oh.
There are horses. There have been horses on a lot of the. They're allowed on the trails, but she has had horses in places where they weren't supposed to be, right down near the waterworks.
Oh, okay.
Going out to, I think there's I'm not sure which island she was referring to, but there have been horses in very sensitive places, and yeah, she's had her hands full.
Wow.
And part of that particular meeting was something that I was hoping I would have a chance to talk about later, and that is the CPA meeting. There was a presentation about from oh God, what's her name? Helen Singh. I'm sorry, I can't remember it. I can't say it, but she's from Serpent, and she did a presentation on what the steering committee for the Nemasket has been doing, and. Among the things that have been considered is all the alternatives for things that possibly can be done to increase the flow of the river, including things like removal of sedimentation in various places, and improvement of taking out of the Wareham Dam. This, by the way, only includes the part of the Nemasket that goes from the dam down to the Wareham Dam in Middleborough. So only a small portion of that is in Lakeville, but of course it affects the entire complex. But what they have done so far is they have done a hydrological study of the river and measured its riverbed, and they have funds to do samples of the sediments. One of the points that the group has been making is that when the river is slowed down, you get more of a sedimentation drop. And whenever there is a barricade, like a bridge or something like that, it tends to slow the river and you get more sedimentation deposit. And so the idea is that you want to minimize those breaks in the river's flow, but where the sedimentation has occurred, probably it needs to be removed. Everything that you do requires so much study, so much effort to get funding, so much effort to get permits. It's been a snail's pace and a lot of words. But hopefully things will happen. So anyway, that's kind of that's a twofer. You got the APC and the Nemasket. But they did do they've had a public meeting, and the public meeting that they had pretty much just covered what would be the effects of climate change on the river. The ups and downs of rainstorms, the increased severity of storms, and then the increased severity of drought. They also did they went down the river in the kayaks and canoes on Sunday. I could not go, but I've done it myself a few times. But that's pretty much it.
Great. Jesse with the Parks Commission.
Hold on, I've got to back up just a minute. I was saying I didn't say CPA did it. It's the steering committee. CPA I haven't talked about yet.
Oh yeah, we were going to get to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Jesse.
Yeah, I haven't been in contact with them since March, so I need to catch up with them. see what new has been going on. I'm sure there's a lot's been going on since the spring and summer, hit us at that time. So
Right.
find
Okay.
out.
In that case, we'll ping pong back to Mike with the FCPC.
Okay, the CPA group did indeed meet with lots of people from Middleborough, and primarily the message we got is that there are two ways that you can try to get this before the townspeople. You can either do it with a citizens petition, which requires something like 500 signatures, and just have it go straight to the ballot, or with 200 signatures, you could get it on a town meeting. I think we're probably going to aim for next spring's town meeting. But in the meantime, they are desperate for volunteers, because this was the thing that we were hearing from Middleborough. They had something like they had a team of about 40 people. The CPA group right now is probably core group is maybe 8 people, and then there may be another 8 that are on the list, but some of them have not shown up yet. They've only said they were interested. So they desperately need volunteers. I mean, volunteers don't have to be people who commit to go to every meeting, but it's just that when they need to be people that could be reached out to when there is, because what they're saying they're going to need to do is people are going to have to stand at all kinds of meetings, just to pass out literature and to talk to people. So if you're willing to be part of the ones who might be called on for something like that, or anybody, send me names so that I can pass them on.
Sure.
You do know what CPA is all about, right?
Who was that question directed to?
Donna, because I just, and the rest of you, I think, have been included in some talk about it, and I wasn't sure that Donna had been.
No, I mean, I think of accounting when you say CPA.
No, it's the Community Preservation Act, and I won't go into all the details, but it's a surtax on a real estate tax. It's a 1% on with a good portion of the value eliminated before you even calculate all this. So it's something like about $44 for the average homeowner, and it's partially matched by the state, and it has to be used for open space, recreation, historical preservation, and affordable housing or community housing of those 4 issues.
Oh, okay.
So it's a primary way of securing funds to actually do some of the preservation
right,
and the acquisitions that we've kind of talked about, but never had a budget for. So
right.
Very clearly an important topic. And Mike, you can pencil me in. You can pen me in as a member of that group if you'd like. Okay, all right. And you don't have to go to the meetings, just but when we're looking for somebody to stand at the dump, maybe we might ask you just for a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon, that kind of thing, with a baby on your shoulder, when the weather's nice. Okay. All right, I'm being hazed from my youth. I see how it is. All right, that sounds great. Let's move on then to procedural details. It is now June 9th, and a lot of things have changed since we spoke last. The order to everyone be wearing masks has been lifted, and I think a lot of the in-person activities have resumed. My own company, which has told me to work in this room from home for quite some time, has told people to come back in the near future. So things are reopening, and I do wonder at what point we will all be having these meetings in person again. I'm wondering if anyone has heard any talk about that topic.
Don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll keep our ears open for that. In the meantime, we'll just err on the side of caution and keep doing it the way we've been doing. But once we hear things, I know Fred, for example, has said he's itching to get back in person. Certain people just really want to get in there and kind of talk face to face, and I think there'll be some benefit of that. So we'll do that as soon as we can. But in the meantime, next month we'll do it this way unless I'm told otherwise. And that next month meeting will be at the first Wednesday of the month, as we typically have been doing so, at 7:30. I want to pause though and ask about availability. I know this is something we've talked about. We do have several people here, and I know LakeCAM has asked that we try to move. I just want to make sure, is the time we are currently on right now, the second Wednesday of the month, is this frequently an issue for anyone in this group?
Well, the second Wednesday for me, this is Brian Reynolds, is that I normally have an archaeological meeting on this site. That's my conflict there.
Okay. Right. We absolutely want you in attendance. So in that case, what we'll do is we'll revert back to the first Wednesday at 7:30 at night, and we'll hope that works for everyone involved. And with that, I'll see if anyone has anything else to add or ask that we move to adjourn.
I have a question. Is the renewals end of June or the end of July that those have to get done? The annual renewal.
Reappointments, you mean?
Right.
It's a good question.
Wouldn't it be the end of June? Because isn't it like a fiscal year end for most municipalities?
I do think it's the end of June. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
Usually it follows with the fiscal, part.
What I will do is reach out to Tracy and make sure that I'm clear about that. And if that's the case, and you won't be reapplying, Jesse, it seems like we won't see you again. But it's a bummer.
that'd be the case, and for anyone else who is for the July 7th meeting, they wouldn't be on the quorum if they're not reappointed by then.
So what I'll do is I'll reach out to Tracy and find out the specific steps we need to do. And you will all hear from me. I'll contact everyone just to make sure that there's no uncertainty about that.
Do you just as a precautionary, while you've got you've got three of us here, do you want to know if we want to, because you have to ask us if we want to be on next year.
You're right.
So we can tell you now.
Mike, will you come back next year?
I'm hanging in for at least one more year.
All right. Donna, will you be coming back next year?
That depends if we go to in person, because I'm actually relocating to New Hampshire. So.
Oh, wow.
I'm in Bartlett right now. I'm in Bartlett, New Hampshire.
Wow. And look at that.
My husband and I bought a business. We bought a business. I told Liz about it.
Yeah.
We bought a business where I'm still keeping Lakeville, obviously, because that's going to be our go-to.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids are in college. We bought a motel in Bartlett, New Hampshire.
You said a hotel?
Yep, like a small motel.
Wow.
Yeah. It's getting busy.
Well, that's good to hear.
I'm almost full this weekend. Kill me now. Anyway, yeah, so I told her, that's why I have kind of been absent over the last couple of months, just kind of going through the purchase of this and transitioning out of my main residence. We're keeping Lakeville, we're still going to keep some roots in Massachusetts. So to me, I want to be on as long as I can. You know what I mean?
So why don't rather than putting you on the spot like this, we can chat via email, and whether you want to stay on full time or whether you want to simply attend and still be involved in that way might potentially be more fitting for you. But we can chat about it. And
okay, yeah, because I will. We'll definitely, obviously July and August, busy time for us. We'll be spending time down in Lakeville for extended periods of time. So that's why I kind of want to get the feelers out first. So.
Right. Okay. And how about you, Brian? Are you going to stick around for another year?
Yes, I will.
Excellent. Great to hear. You sure you don't want to stick around, Jesse? Sorry.
Sure for this year.
All right.
Are you running for selection again?
No, I'm not running for anything this year.
Nothing.
He's taking a sabbatical, but he'll be back. In that case, I'll need to find out from Liz and Fred what their intentions are. And I sure hope that they are intending so that we can get a quorum easily next month. But I'll send out emails to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
And with that, I'll ask that we move to adjourn.
I move.
Okay, I make a motion. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
All right, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
And a second?
I'll second.
And for roll call, Mike
Aye.
and Jesse.
Aye.
All right, and so that was unanimous. I also say aye. We adjourn, and thanks everybody for being here on this.